In this Star Wars Outlaws news update video, I will be sharing with you details such as the release date for the first DLC Wild Card and the Steam release, and so much more. But before we do get into today's news though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future news updates on Star Wars Outlaws. And we're in gaming season, and Instant Gaming are sponsoring this video to tell you that they are the place to get your new games. Click the link in the description to browse and purchase your games fast at a discount. So let's kick things off with an unusual announcement about the game. So in my previous Outlaws news video, I shared how the game would be part of Ubisoft's Tokyo Game Show livestream taking place tomorrow, Thursday the 26th of September. And we all speculated that maybe, just maybe, they will show off a little bit more of the upcoming DLC Wild Card. I was really looking forward to covering this live stream and sharing any details that came out of this event. However, in an unusual move, Ubisoft have cancelled the live stream just mere days before taking place. They announced the news via their Japanese social media channels with a message that I have translated for you here to English. So it says, "Dear community, due to various circumstances, we regret to inform you that we have had to cancel our online exhibition at Tokyo Game Show 2024. We apologise for the short notice, and we sincerely apologise to everyone who has been looking forward to the distribution." Well, the big bombshell reasoning for this has just been dropped by Ubisoft. They have announced the release date of Star Wars Outlaws' first DLC, Wild Card, along with a release date for the game on Steam, and that Assassin's Creed Shadows has also been delayed. The official social media channels for Star Wars Outlaws just posted this message from the team that worked on the game. They kicked things off by thanking us for our support, and the feedback has been invaluable in helping us prioritise the improvements and changes we will make to the game. We are hard at work at creating multiple title updates, which will bring optimisation, gameplay polishing and tweaks, as well as quality of life changes, including adjustments to combat and stealth gameplay. More on that later on in the video. As for the release date of the first DLC, Wild Card, it will come out on November 21st. I actually thought today, maybe it's going to come out around mid-November, so I was pretty close. So Thursday, November 21st is when we will be able to play Wild Card. That is available to be purchased separately or is part of the Season Pass if you already own it. As we know, this DLC is about infiltrating a high-stakes back tournament on a casino ship and working for the Empire alongside Lando. There will be some free content though that will be coming with this DLC, but you won't actually need to purchase the DLC for. So there will be new contracts that will be added for free for all players, which is nice to see. On top of that, on the same day, the game is coming to Steam. So if you've been holding out, waiting for the game to come to Steam instead of Ubisoft Connect, you will soon be able to actually get it. We have a date, it's nice and confirmed ahead of time. So November 21st is when the game will be available on Steam. I am super excited to check out this new DLC. More content is always appreciated, and hopefully this will be good content. Even the free contracts, that's great to see. If you can't wait to get it on Steam though, the game is actually discounted right now if you use my code and Ubisoft's code, so type in at checkout Azatrue and Autumn24 and you'll save a bunch of money on Star Wars Outlaws if you purchase from the Ubisoft store today. Sticking with the future of the game, we do have some official confirmations of what will be happening in the coming weeks and months. This all comes from the game's creative director, Julian Garrity, who has just done another new interview. This is with Stephen Totelo of GameFile, and it is a paywalled article. I would highly recommend checking out. So I won't be showing the full article, I'll only be showing parts of it, but it's the main stuff that's most interesting. So firstly, Julian talks about the various changes they've made to stealth and how it actually came about, those issues. So he said that it's one of those things that is really a chain reaction of another change. The review build, or the 1.0 build, the version that I played when I was reviewing the game before launch, did have issues and that they hadn't seen, and the playtest hadn't surfaced for us. He went on to say that the game has a complex set of systems, and if you change one thing, it may have a knock-on impact to other parts of the game, which sounds like that's what happened here. They did make tweaks that ultimately made the release version of the game just more difficult. Now, in the most recent update that released for Star Wars Outlaws, Massive did make things like the infiltration of the Pike base a little bit easier. I covered all that in a previous video, but Julian did go on to say that they didn't tweak the detection ability in the wider game world. It was just controlled for the specific districts of the enemy factions, so they are less observant. There's also an issue where if you snuck behind this grill, enemies would actually be able to spot you through it. This happened all the way back in the preview build of the game, back in July, I think it was, when I went out to play it, and in the review now it's more opaque, so enemies can't actually see you through it. In terms of making changes, Julian said it's a question of how fast do we turn this around and make something that's more aligned with the vision and intended experience. They use telemetry from us playing to understand what's wrong, where people are having issues. Julian says that he keeps looking at these reports from our playtime, and his team have made some foundational improvements to Outlaws, along just some spot improvements just to allow people not to get hung up on certain parts, for example, infiltrating the Pike base. The team is also looking at how enemies do detect players and how NPCs behave, and they may also tweak things to do with K's control. According to the article, Ubisoft's telemetry basically shows where players are dying in the game, where they failed a mission, and the frequency of those incidents, so this tells them when people decide to put down the game and not return, so they can improve the game to make it a little bit easier so they can continue to keep playing. Julian says that he doesn't want people to feel frustrated, but feel challenged. That was the intention overall. This team can't simply act just on data they're getting from play sessions, because he says, I think you have to cross it with your experience and the shared experience on the team and playtest in parallel. The data is said to be fairly granular, and Julian can see an uptick in a caught or kill ratio at this particular beat in this particular quest. So you know that there is something that's not quite working with that quest, and it's not a pleasurable frustration. It is just not fair or fun. The creative director goes on to say that replaying that, looking at it with the team looking into the context of playtests, can confirm that hypothesis too. On the morning of this interview, he was actually looking at the telemetry for various frustration points of players. That was what he was mostly looking at. And it's not about what people aren't discovering in the game. There is so many hidden things in the game. It isn't about that. It's just about where people are dying a lot, being caught up, or where we do see player drop-offs. As we know, there is so much cool stuff under the surface of Outlaws, and he said it's designed that way so it's not in your face like a typical Ubisoft game. Let's now take a look at the future of Star Wars Outlaws and what Julian has had to say and what's coming in the next few weeks and months. So as I mentioned in my previous video, he would be leaving Star Wars Outlaws at some point to go and lead the Division 3, which is Massive's next game. In terms of a time frame of when he is leaving, he will still be overseeing the game for the next month or so for the various patches that are on their way. And then after he leaves, a new creative director will step in, and they, along with the game director and a seasoned, massive team, will carry out the DLC and frequent upgrades that they will do. In terms of the size for these DLCs, Julian says that they are fairly meaty. If you have played Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, you'll know that those DLCs are quite big in size. Julian also said that he's hoping for the best of the game, and it's a passion project, so much so that he was playing it this morning. Now, one change that Julian is looking into, it is a spoiler, so spoiler warning if you haven't completed the game. So skip ahead until you see the next news story on screen, but basically, ND5, as we know, has his restraining bolt removed at the end of the game, but when you go back to play the game and explore the open world and such, his character model still has the restraining bolt. Julian says he hasn't brought it up with the team, but it has to happen. I would highly recommend checking out the full article. There will be a link down below in the description. It's very informative and it's awesome, and Stephen does great work. Next up, we have some new sales data to see how well Star Wars Outlaws is doing. So Newzoo have revealed the top 20 games by revenue in August for the US, UK, Germany, France, Spain and Italy combined across all platforms. That's PC and consoles. Star Wars Outlaws clocked in number 9. Now, obviously Star Wars Outlaws released right at the end of August, so it makes sense that it isn't higher up because The other titles have been out longer. And the other games just simply are massive games that always sell well every single month. Even when there are new games come out at the start of the month, they may not even be overtaken by things like Modern Warfare, EA Sports FC 24 and more. It would have been nice to see it higher up, definitely should have been higher in my opinion. It is a shame it's not as high, but we will get a better picture of how Outlaws is doing at the end of October when Ubisoft revealed their financials for this quarter. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything I've talked about in this video, so please do let me know down in the comment section below. And remember to join my Discord or support me on Patreon if you do want to help be part of my community. And if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like. Subscribe so you don't miss any future news updates on Star Wars Outlaws. And if you did miss any of my previous videos, click on the playlist on screen right now. And I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.